Hey, what's up? It's Bon. Let's talk about Starfield. I just wanted to do a quick video. There is a really great interview by the Kind of Funny Xcast. This is another podcast that's focused on Xbox stuff. It's under the Kind of Funny umbrella. And they had Todd Howard on today from Bethesda, the project director on Starfield. There weren't any huge revelations, or at least nothing that I picked up, but I did want to talk about some of the things that were talked about and just give my general vibe on Starfield. I'm still yet to do a Starfield focused video. I plan on doing that probably next week, where I'll talk about all of the things we saw during the recent showcase and give my general impressions and hype for the game. Spoiler, I'm super high on it and very excited. But as for this interview, it's an interesting cast here. So it's Mike Howard, who's Snowbike Mike, who's the host here. Paris Lilly, who you will probably know through a bunch of different things that he has done, and Gary Whitta, who mostly just appears on Kind of Funny content every now and then. But he's like a screenwriter, and he's actually a relatively well-known guy in Hollywood. He wrote things like Rogue One, and some other video and movies and shows and such. So as for this podcast, I highly suggest listening to it yourself and picking up all the little details. Maybe you'll get something that I missed. But one thing they talked about was accessibility. And so it sounds like they may not have gone into like a super deep accessibility situation where they're doing like all of the different color things and all that. But Todd did mention that they have a big font mode that will be obviously pretty important for anyone playing this game who has some seeing difficulties. But that was kind of all they talked about. So we'll have to wait and see what the accessibility looks like on this. This is the creation engine. This is the upgraded version of the engine that they've been making Bethesda games on forever. And so it's probably going to have some cool new features. My suspicion is that it's not going to be quite caught up with the accessibility side, especially of Unreal and some of the other modern engines. One question that was asked by the crew was whether or not there will be any kind of vehicles to get you around the planets faster, and Todd denied that. They said no, and that there will be the little jump jets that you have on your character that we've seen in some of the gameplay previews, but that as of release, there are none. And the thing is with all of these things is that you have to keep in mind that modders are going to mod the crap out of this game. And so someone is going to add rovers that you can drive around. Someone's going to add maybe even more accessibility options. They talked about the planets and exploration and stuff. Todd mentioned how only about 10% of the planets will sustain life, which will mean that 90% of the planets will be fairly barren. And this has been talked about quite a bit. And this is at least the expectation I'm going in with, is that most of the planets you run into are going to be mostly for resource collection. Now, maybe that means you set up a settlement that mines those resources, and it's like an ongoing thing, which would be interesting. Maybe you'll run into the occasional side mission or something that takes place in an old abandoned mine or something on one of these planets. But I've kind of gone into this assuming that we won't have 100% hand built catered planets for 1,000 planets, and that's okay. There's a really good likelihood you just won't visit these 90% of planets very often, and you'll probably focus on the 10% that are handmade and catered to the player, or that are meant to have life and more missions and things like that on it. Todd also talked about how they asked about if you can be a space pirate, just straight up be a pirate, and he pointed out that, and we've seen this in the previews, that there's literally a whole faction in the game that are pirates. And so that, there will probably be some capacity to go down their storyline and maybe kind of take up some of their activities. And then finally, the last big thing that I wanted to point out was that they asked about romances and how many people were romanceable in the game. And he said there's 4. So they're all Constellation crew members. I'm assuming that these are going to be people that have been featured pretty heavily in the trailers and gameplay and stuff like that so far. And so while some people may want more than that, and there's always mods that could end up happening, and I think that's probably at least a start. They have really talked a lot about, and especially in previous interviews recently, Todd has talked about DLCs and things like that. It sounds like Starfield is going to be an ongoing, maybe not exactly a live game experience. Like, I'm not expecting Starfield to have a battle pass and stuff like that, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's 3, 4, maybe 5 DLCs over the next couple years, and those could add more companions, more romances, things like that. So I'll definitely be curious to see what comes from that. I think the big question, and I should have hit up Paris or someone to get this question asked, is I want to know if, at least on day one, or if they ever plan it, to have like a mod store on the consoles, on Xbox Series X and S, because all these concerns about 60 frames and some of these other issues, I would assume they can at least be addressed in some capacity with player mods. And because I believe they've talked about this game being where you can jump from your computer to your Xbox and back and forth, that to me would say that, well, then the mods must be compatible between both, or at least to a point. I know, like on Fallout 4, you could do mods on console, but I think there was some limit to either how many you could have, or there were some that were just so big they wouldn't work on the console. I can't remember. Correct me down in the comments if you want to. But that was a question I wish would have been asked. And as much as I would love to try to hit up Bethesda to see if they would let me interview Todd, I'm gonna guess I'm a little too small for that. But who knows? Maybe I'll still try anyways. But yeah, this is a nice little interview. I'll link it down below. You can check it out, and be sure to check out the interview that Todd did with IGN a week or two ago as well. He talked a lot about it, and maybe just go watch the whole showcase again, because I plan to today, because it just gives me chills. This is probably the most excited I've been for a game maybe since Division 2, and will probably be the most excited I'll be for a game until the next Mass Effect, which who knows how far away that is. So let me know what you think about this interview, what kind of questions you would like to get answered. The game is only a couple months away now. We're getting close. So thank you so much for watching the video. If you liked it, please hit the like button. Subscribe if you want more videos about Starfield, Mass Effect, or just gaming in general. You can find me all over the internet as Von Diesel, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, and so on. You can also catch my weekly gaming podcast called the Xcast on all podcast platforms and right here on this YouTube channel. That's all I have for this one. So until next time.